Alright. So. Got that fixed out and sorted a little bit. Yeah. Playing. There's been plenty of times where I've been playing around when I should have been working. It happens a lot, though, where you are intending to do one thing and you kind of procrastinate and end up doing something else. It happens enough that I've been a bit behind on a lot of things. Something that has always affected me in my life is completing tasks, you know. I've always had a difficult time actually following through on things. And you get really caught up in what you're doing, you know. You start by just going and playing a video game or writing something down. It can really be anything. But before you know it, you're just kind of lost. And you're so sucked into what you're doing that 5 minutes goes by, then 10, then 30, then an hour. And before you know it, you just you've lost the whole day, and the thing that you were supposed to be doing is just so far behind you. I've had plenty of days like that. But, you know, sometimes you just lose track of yourself. It can get really easy sometimes. Knowing when to play and when to work, that's a difficult thing for me. I suppose, like, the smartest person, the wisest person would be able to find ways to make both of them exist simultaneously, you know, making work into a bit of a sport or a bit of a game. And at the same time, having plenty of recreation on the side. But I think I've struggled with that myself. Alright, on to our next word. Chicken. I am a pescatarian. If you've never heard of that word before, it means somebody who only eats fish and vegetables and fruit. That doesn't mean you can't have like milk and stuff like that, though, you know. It's not completely vegan, not completely vegetarian. Like vegetarian plus fish, basically. And I feel like I have come to that decision a few times in my life, and whenever I actually do eat meat out of necessity, which I had to recently, I just feel so terrible about it. You know, I get so emotional. I guess it's because I feel so sad for the animals that were lost in making the food. But chickens. I think chickens are really cute, you know? Like most animals, they might not be the smartest, and especially not chickens, but you know, you can hold them and you can take them places and they can be there for you. Even if they're not very smart, they can still be emotionally supportive. And you can take care of them. It can be a very rewarding experience to have an animal under your care and to facilitate their health and your own along the way. It's a strange thing, but husbandry, it has rewards all on its own, just for the act itself. You know, you can be any kind of person, but you can love an animal, really no matter who you are. There's an animal out there for everyone. Animals can cure all kinds of fatigues and disorders just by having them in the same room. Especially when they're really energetic, you can sort of feel like you have their energy in you, you know, like you're a part of their energy. And when that happens, it can really seem like, you know, almost like you're living through them a little bit, you know? That's when an animal is so energetic that you get some of their energy just from being in the same room. And I've seen plenty of dogs, not many cats, a few cats I've seen act like this, but mostly dogs. They just have so much pumped up enthusiasm that, you know, you just have to grab them and hold on to them a little bit and let them get their energy out by going outside usually. Go for a walk or even just throw a frisbee around in the backyard. Sometimes, though, they get a little bit carried away. Just need to calm down. I think I've fought with that a lot myself, though, is having unnatural amounts of energy at sometimes inappropriate moments. You know, sometimes you walk into a situation and it does kind of invigorate you. Maybe even though it might not make sense, or maybe it shouldn't on some level. But sometimes tragedy and comedy and thoughtfulness, on both of them, you know, where they intersect and intertwine, sometimes they can sort of be inseparable. You know, where you're crying so hard that you start laughing. It's crazy that can happen, but it has happened to me before. It's a weird thing. I'm sure that it looks very strange seeing someone do that. I'm sure it's absolutely wild seeing someone start laughing after they've cried so hard. It's a bit embarrassing for me because it makes me feel like I'm some kind of supervillain or something. Not in a good way either, in a sort of and kind of like a in kind of a lame way. It doesn't feel cool to me, but you know, it's very difficult for me to judge myself appropriately given the nature of things. But a lot of people fight with that too, so it's pretty understandable. Let's go on to our next word. Opposed. So, in my family, there are plenty of times where I've been opposed to somebody, or where I felt like I was on opposite sides of an issue, and it's often times like this where you find the common ground that you have with somebody is when you're opposed. Because there's different ways you can be opposite to one another. You can be opposite in some kind of drama-filled, almost toxic environment where you're just throwing mud at each other, trying to sling insults or provocatives or insinuations about each other's characters. I've been there. Ugh. It's a nasty place to be. Or, it can be where you both have something to say about the subject and neither one of you is really wrong. It's more like you both have right things to say, but from your opposition, from being in this sort of crucible, you're able to find out what you both have right to say about the subject and come to a compromise on a new viewpoint. And there's something magical about that. We've been streaming for about 20 minutes. Episode 4. I'm thinking about how long it'll be before we reach episode 10, episode 25, 50, 100. It'll be a while. These cast talks, they may only be happening on the weekends. They may happen sometime in between then as well. The actual scheduling is only really certain that they're going to be happening on Saturdays. But the possibility of them happening on other days does exist. I can't speak to how often that will occur though. Maybe I'll surprise you every now and again. Because I would like to go a little bit quicker than just once every week. It'll take us a little while to get anywhere with that kind of momentum. But for the moment, that'll be good enough. On to our next word. Glance. I've been in only one fight in my entire life. That was a fight with a young Asian man. We were both, I want to say, 14. We were arguing over something or other. Something about him being lonely or how his death might occur. The kind of things that young men argue about or insult each other with, which is the crux of this fight. And so I don't know if he mentioned it or if someone else mentioned it, but then somehow the idea came about that we should fight in the school bathroom. And me being the wild card that I used to be, I thought it would be just extraordinary if we could have a fight, if we could just duke it out. And so that was what we decided to do. We were followed by a small mob of people through the corridors of the high school, or excuse me, middle high school. And before I knew it, we were standing in the bathroom and the exit was sort of blocked by people with their phones out, recording the situation. Luckily, I've never seen that footage, because I'm certain I would feel embarrassed. I remember thinking that the best way I could fight was with the intention to just start swinging right after I closed my eyes, because I didn't want to see any of the violence, I'm not a very violent person, and I've always really liked the idea of solving things in a different way, but when you are in a dark age of your life, sometimes you don't see things very clearly, and this is one of those times. And so instead of having some sort of tactic or thought process going into it, I just started swinging my arms over and over again. I think some of my fists connected to a face somewhere here and there. And eventually I knocked his glasses off, which was a divine move on my end. The moment of victory. Two nerds fighting, one of them loses their glasses, it's over. I tried to elbow him right in the back as he was picking up his glasses, because there's no rules in a street fight. Luckily the street fight was in a school, so I guess there were rules. And also luckily my elbow did not affect him after I hit him right in the spine. You think it would have done something, but I didn't weigh that much. I weighed like maybe 70 pounds. I was a very small tween, I guess you could say. But I elbow dropped him, and he didn't seem to care, because he was a bit husky, I guess you could say. But then it ended. And then we shook hands. As I suppose you do after that kind of encounter. Mostly, I took glancing blows though. Nothing ever really hit me hard or struck me in a serious way. My cheeks were very red, and I remember that night I was so worried about what everyone might be thinking about the fight. And I was afraid that maybe I had worsened my reputation, or I had broken some kind of moral code. Because, I had struck somebody. They had struck me too, so it was all fair game. And we were young lads, so who can say if there's anything wrong with two young lads going at a brawl? No intention of seriously harming the other, just getting out their youthful spirits. And if they both consent to it, I say let them at it. Maybe give them some boxing gloves and see what happens. Especially if neither one of them knows how to fight. It's almost wholesome seeing two people that don't know how to fight trying to fight each other. Because they just don't know what they're doing. And they can be dangerous, but fights are always dangerous. And you can't always resolve childhood arguments by calmly and clearly thinking about them. I don't approve of using violence, but for kids, I don't know, maybe it works sometimes. Maybe they can solve their issues out together with their childish violence. It's almost cute, but not quite. But maybe I don't have the right idea myself. Unit. When I was younger, I was a part of a channel, I guess you could say. A TeamSpeak channel, actually. And I was really interested. In sort of this tactical sort of gameplay, video games, but with a military style edge. And so I got on this TeamSpeak server, and whatever game it was, it didn't really matter what game it was, but I would play with these other players, and we would have teams and groups and code names. And I thought it was just all so splendid, this pseudo-militaristic operation they were running with video games. And it got pretty intense, to a point where it actually caused me to have some serious physical problems, because I was gaming so much. And I recently had to have some corrective surgery because of that. But it was nothing serious, and I'm actually doing quite a bit better because of it. And these things happen, people get into spells of interest, and my spell just happened to last long enough that I was more intent on having a fun time in the moment than taking care of myself for the sake of the future. But overusing your hands for 15 years will do that to you, because it is really easy to understand a momentary pleasure, but it's hard to think about how damage is being accrued over a period of time. And it was, it was showing up little by little. And I still have to be careful even after the surgery. I have to be careful of it. Okay, let's move on to our next word. Conclusion. Usually you find yourself in the middle of a situation regarding something interpersonal, or maybe even a TV show or a movie. And sometimes things wrap up really neatly, and I was talking about this earlier, that a lot of the times you don't get a solid conclusion to a relationship or to an event. But I guess that means when it does happen, when things wrap up with a little bow on top, or even if they just have packaging that you can tell the top and bottom side of, sometimes that's good enough. Sometimes it's good enough. And I have to admit, there haven't been a lot of moments like that for me where things have just sort of wrapped up positively and I could just move on. Which is, I lament that. I think that's a good thing, even if it's not always a good ending. At least it's ended, it's over. But if you can make those happen in your life where they need to occur, if you can sort of have that control to end things when they should be ended, it's a good thing. Fragment. There was a period of time where I was very concerned with my own well-being, and this is a healthy thing to begin with, but I think that the health of it was bordering on almost being a hypochondriac, because you get these spells, just me specifically, every now and again where I think I have some kind of physical ailment or disorder, and I have to sort of be reminded that these things are very rare for the most part, and you probably don't have it if you're, in your 20s and you're eating well and you exercise. You probably don't have very many physical ailments going on. It's always possible, of course, but it seems pretty unlikely. And certainly a part of me worries about being the victim of some kind of disease or something like that. But, maybe it's a survivor fantasy, victim fantasy as well. Sort of accruing sympathy. I've always found that sympathy is kind of a potent weapon. And I don't say that out of a need to accrue sympathy for the sake of manipulation, but I've always felt like having someone being sympathetic towards you, it can always make you feel like you know where you stand. Because it's pretty hard to fake sympathy. It's a fairly genuine reaction for the most part. And I guess I've always wanted that genuineness out of people, that kindness as well. So I suppose that these victim fantasies are often an exchange, right? Me having something bad happen to me in exchange for people being kind to me. It's kind of a crazy mathematics going on. But sometimes you come up with crazy ideas for the sake of feeling good, and that's one of them. But I've always had a little bit of a streak for maybe having like victim fantasies of some kind. But it comes along with having been victimized a little bit. I guess you can become accustomed to that feeling and maybe even long for it from time to time. I know I do sometimes. I think about Hey Ella, how's it going? Actually, let me move this a little bit. Let me move this chat box. There we go. I don't know when you'll show up on the chat box on the screen. Unless it's a pillow fight, yeah. Oh, I'm doing very well. Enjoying the stream so far. And thank you for asking. Oh, I think that it's starting to appear on screen. I forgot that I have to be looking at my actual stream for it. There we go. I'm very glad you're enjoying the stream. But it does happen sometimes that you have a fantastic situation and you get to be the one that gets out of it, and you know you're regarded as a hero or a survivor or a victim, and there's some power in that, being in that situation where you're in control for whatever reason. And you know, I understand. It can be a tempting position to be found in, or to want to be found in, excuse me. But I think it's important to remember that most of the time, people just want attention. And that's not a bad thing to want attention. I mean, I want attention. I'd like it to have the attentions of a friend or a lover or a companion at really many different times. Nothing wrong with that. But you always have to remember, the intentions really do matter. Because if you're not careful, then very easily you can get the wrong kind of attention. In fact, I learned this pretty seriously when I was playing Second Life, and I used to do this thing where I would, and this is a fairly groundbreaking idea. I had a character. The best kind of attention is from a pet who is obsessed with you. Ah, man. I haven't had that in so long. That would be great, though. Yeah, I'd love that. I'm looking forward to when I have that in my life again. I used to put tentacles on my character model on Second Life, and I thought they were just adorable. I loved them, and I really enjoyed wearing them. Though I would have wished if they had moved around a little bit more, you know, in an animated way. That didn't end up happening for the most part, but what did end up happening is a lot of people messaged me with an acute interest in my tentacles, and I was never against the idea of someone wanting to take part in a roleplay or something regarding them, but people would always open up trying to grab them, and it just happened so many times. I don't know if I can count how many. Yeah. Yeah, the tentacles. I'm glad you remember them. Oh man, I got into so much trouble with those tentacles. People always trying to grab them. And it's not like I meant for it to happen either, you know? I wasn't interested in being grabbed by strangers. Like, and most people are not interested in that, so it's understandable. It's just people got the wrong idea. You know, they got the wrong idea, and before I knew it, I was sort of stuck in this situation where people kept messaging me with this idea of thinking they could just sort of take part, and, you know, I got tired of it. Eventually I was just like, no, I'm just done. I won't wear them anymore. And who knows if I'll ever put them on again. I remember very well that I thought it was a fashion statement that I had seen nowhere else. And I was really interested in making something out of it. But it didn't really turn out to be something I could really use for the most part. It just attracts the wrong kind of attention. And that's not to say that I'm not wearing them because of that. I'm not wearing them because I think I was trying to get that attention. There was a period where I wanted people to message me and bother me like that. But that's not really something that I need anymore. You know, despite whatever situation that I'm in, I don't find myself desiring those situations anymore. So for the most part, I have gotten away from them to a point where I feel like I don't need it anymore. And that's a genuine thing that I feel grateful for, not needing to have that. But I still remember them. I remember actually really well that I had a number of people that always took some kind of absurd, almost cartoonish enjoyment out of me having them, which I understand. You know, it's a thing that some people are really into. I just like octopi. You know, that's really my thing. Is I like octopi, and I wanted to be like them, seeing as though they're kind of a spirit animal for me. And I thought that would be a good way to do that. And it was. It's true. I like them, and I want people to acknowledge them. I think the only problem I can see with it is that I was wearing them for the wrong reason, I feel. And it does happen, right? Where you're wearing them, wearing anything, and you don't really see the way other people see you until something happens. And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not, and you never really know until you try. So you just gotta keep putting yourself out there, and you'll find what works. Gorilla. I think there's a really powerful truth to the idea that life and depression and things like that Hey, Jenny. I was talking about my tentacles for a little while. Just a little bit. I was talking about how I was wearing them for the wrong reason, to sort of get attention, but I always got the wrong kind of attention for it. Yeah, but I was just talking about how my view on depression has changed a lot over the years. Because there was a period where I thought depression was like a battlefield, you know, where you were trying to fight. Just gotta be you. Like a battlefield, right? Where you were trying to win. And I don't know if something like depression is something you just win or lose on. I think it's more of a dance. And your partner is sometimes across the room dancing with someone else, and sometimes you're the one dancing with them. And they can suck because you wish you were dancing with someone better, but that's what you've got. And you have to live with that. I think as you recover, the room gets bigger and bigger, and there's more and more things and people to dance with besides depression. And it gets further and further away. Eventually it gets lost, and you just don't see it for a very long time, because it's off dancing with so many other people, that so many other parts of your brain, that it's just not even in sight anymore. And, you know, your world gets filled more and more with the things that are interesting and helpful to you, to a point where you're actually able to move on slowly. It does take a long, long time, though, to move on. That's something I've found myself, is recovering from depression takes a long time. You can't really rush it. I thought I could for a while, but it doesn't quite work that way. You know, you have to really build from your position and from the people around you, and you just keep building, and eventually you get someplace where you can actually make a difference and start to feel things changing for the better. But it takes time. It takes a lot of time. I'm glad that you like it. Yeah, I came up with that at some point. I don't remember when, but I was just thinking that it doesn't have to be quite so intense, you know, a battlefield or a world war or whatever. You know, it can be simple. It can be just something pedantic, because that's sort of the way that you want things to be after you've been depressed for so long. You want things to be simple. You want things to just sort of be focused on one or two things at a time. You know, keeping yourself busy, but not being focused on the pain or the aloneness. And our next word is ice, and that's a good point to bring up, is, you know, there's not that many of us in the Cassius Mishima community at the moment. There's about 17, 18 of us, and that's a whole lot better than 0. Because it used to be just me by myself in a Discord channel. But, you know, it changed. We just kept working at it and working at it, and You know, now I've got a bunch of people, and a lot of them show up just to these streams. Isn't that fantastic? Just 4 streams in, and we've already gotten so much more people watching and taking interest. And that's all I can really ask for, is that people watch and enjoy themselves. Because usually all I want is for someone to watch these and fall fast asleep, enjoy themselves, and just forget about all this other stuff going on in their life. Because for a little while, maybe only 2 hours, maybe only until you fall asleep, you can worry about something else. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's personally something very powerful is to hear someone else just sort of talking in the background, and I'm still learning about the subjects that I feel comfortable speaking on that are also appropriate for this podcast, and extremely the stream podcast, this stream. But I feel like I get a better handle on it every time, and I'm glad to hear it. It's nice to be just sort of taking it easy. And that's a pretty good thing. And you know, the production value of Cast Talks has already increased quite a bit. We actually have alerts now for following. And exactly, Johnny B, thank you so much for following. It won't be long now until you guys see the subscription alert. It is mwah, it is beautiful. It took me a little while to find the sound for it because honestly, no one really even had a recording of it on the internet. But after scraping around the bottom of the barrel, I found it. And it is fantastic. I'm saving it though, the actual alert. You know, I won't break it out just yet. I'm sure it'll be thank you for following, Jenny. I'm sure that when I do break it down, people will love it, and I'll be really happy that I get to see it, because it's a great noise, and it's a great little GIF that I have up on there. I'm looking forward to it. Amy Juneo. Thank you so much for following. We've gotten a bunch of followers this stream. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Yeah, just for a little while. Keep yourself nice and tucked in, and let me do the talking for a bit. Legend. You know, I think everybody on some level wants to have a legend about them in existence. Even the most humble person, I'm sure, thinks about, oh, hey, Onion. Nice to see you. Thinks about being known as the most humble person of all time, right? I think it's a aspiration of every human being is to be renowned for something. And I know this is just the start of things for this channel, for us as a group and a community. But I hope I can, if anything, create a lasting legend of relaxation. Because relaxing is something that I find so terribly difficult to do. I would love it if I could aspire people to find new levels of safety and comfort, especially in times like these where it's so difficult to find peace. I can't imagine a time quite as ripe as this for helping people feel more relaxed about the world around them and themselves. We live in fast times, though. Sometimes it's nice to slow down and just kick it back for a little while. Lunch. What did I have for lunch? I had some... I had some Pringles. Pringles and pomegranate seeds and a little bit of an energy drink. Just enough that I would get a little bit of a buzz from it, and then I poured it out because it's got way too much sugar. I honestly thought it was the low sugar version, but I tasted it and I was like, wow, this is strong. And I was like, oh, how many sugars in this? And I was like, oh, 60 grams. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. Maybe if I was 5-6 years younger, but not at 25. Those days are behind me, which is, I'm certainly sure, for the better. A vegan sandwich. Wow. And I've had some vegan chicken recently. Mine was from Tofurkey, which I actually am planning to have a Tofurkey dinner for Thanksgiving. Though I need to test to see if the Tofurkey agrees with my stomach first. Assuming it does, though, it'll be a nice crispy dinner. Crispy Tofurkey. And then I can say no turkeys were harmed in the making of my meal. And I always feel a little bit proud of that. For one reason or the other. I hope your sandwich was good, though. That's not a bad place to be, though. Low-key, really good. Soy chicken. Ah, man, that does sound good. Spicy, too. Oh, nice. Cheeseburger. I have not had applesauce, like good, like homemade applesauce in a while. I remember really enjoying it, though, back when I was eating sugars more. I could just take a whole jar of that and just go to town. I'm sure I would regret it later. Get sores all over the inside of my mouth, but, having a sugar intolerance does that to you, and it's my own fault for eating so much over the years. Promise. One of the promises that I made that's always sort of stuck with me. I'll put it this way. A young man who once saw me for the suffering person I was, he spoke to me after seeing the pain I was going through in my eyes. He made me promise to stay safe. And I had a hard time saying yes to that promise, to actually promising it. I don't remember if I did or not, but never liked applesauce. Well, you know, it's not for everybody. I've stayed true to that promise so far, though. I've always stayed safe. Even when it's been really hard to stay safe, I've managed. And some of the safest places you can be are in hospitals, or sometimes even like in a police station. Because sometimes people have to go to police stations for one reason or the other. Usually for something small. But if you think about it, it's a very safe place to be. So is a hospital. Makes me think of Resident Evil. How the police station used to be an art gallery or something, or a museum. It's crazy. That wouldn't fly these days, though. River. I am a dungeon master, and by that I mean somebody who is a game master in sort of a Dungeons and Dragons style game. And I've done this for a little while, you know, for quite some time actually. And the reason I do it, and this is something that I've heard other people say, I think it's even a quote in a movie, is I am a river to my people, and I bring them the things that I see as a boon, you know, good times and good sensations, joy and wholesomeness. And I have failed at times to be as wholesome as I'd like to be. But it's important to remember, you can't always be as pure as snow or something else, because it's tough to be in a position of purity. It's tough to have the weight of acting innocently on your shoulders. Oftentimes, movie stars feel this because, child stars especially, it's hard to see somebody who you have the picture of innocence developed towards behaving in any way that is not similar to that. And, you know, stars, Hollywood stars, whatever, they feel it pretty hard. You know, they have to behave because any mistake they make becomes magnified so extremely. That's sort of a reason that I would like to, whatever stardom I ever accrue, I would like it to be mostly small time and low key. You know, just enough to make an impact, to make things better, but not so much that people are coming after me to try and learn the scoop about my newest divorce or something. Which hopefully I'll never be divorced, but maybe someday, I don't know. If I am ever divorced, though, then you can be sure I will try not to make it a public thing that everyone is trying to get the scoop on. That's just me, though. Secure. Yeah, there's been times in my life where I felt very secure about myself, very confident. One of them specifically was when I was in jazz band. So, you know, there was a period of time where I was playing the saxophone. I actually have a saxophone, a beautiful red and gold one, but at the moment it is broken. It needs to be taken to the repair shop. And I was so into practicing this one piece, this one solo, that I just played it over and over again. I got so enraptured by the idea of playing it for people that I was always imagining it every time that I was summoning the crowd and having them sit down, and then I would have the song play before me and have them all amped up and ready. And then I would finally play my solo, and they would be locked on me. They wouldn't be able to think about anything else but my music, the tunes, to the point where I would have them so spellbound that when I stopped, they would realize that they weren't even breathing. They would realize how much they missed it already, not even a second after it had ended. And when I finally did play, I got just that. Just half a second of silence. Enjoy your smoke, Ginny. Just half a second of silence, and then just a standing ovation. And I was so winded and so exhausted from actually playing it that the surge of dopamine and chemicals in my brain was enough to make you sick, really, but in a good way. Just blend up an apple for applesauce, don't add any sugar. Little cinnamon makes it even better. I agree, cinnamon can change your life. Cinnamon is great. Whenever you get those apple ciders, I'm talking about like just apple cider, no alcohol, mind you, and you dip those like cinnamon sticks in when it's all warm. That's a treat right there. I played that saxophone, and like a piece of me, a piece that went into the solo, went out, and it was enjoyed by the people. I think that's what I like most about it, is the people who listened to it got something out of it. I gave them a piece of me, and they left and went home and carried that piece with them. And that makes me happy. And I hope that they think about it from time to time. And I don't know if it was ever recorded, but if it was, I'd like very much to see it. Because I can only imagine the look on my face after I finished. It's a hell of a thing. A heck of a thing, excuse me. But when you actually get to experience something like that, where you feel like you know what you're doing and you're confident, and you're going into it, and nothing can stop you, it's such a joy being in that much control, having so many people on the edge of their seats just looking at you and gasping at the heights that you reach. Isn't that something that just anyone would want? It's truly a beautiful thing. Kitchen. I have worked in a kitchen only for 2 months in my entire life. And I was not really in the kitchen that much. It was a little pizza place. And I worked at the front desk. As I'm sure you can imagine, I was on the phone, and I was getting calls and taking orders, which was the right place for me to be, now that I think about it. People would call in, and they would say, I'd like a Hawaiian with extra cheese, half sauce. And I'd be like, okay, I can do that for you. And they always seem to be a little bit surprised to hear me speak to them. I'd say, hello, thank you for calling blanks. Can I take your order? And some of them hid it very well, that they were enjoying talking to me over the phone, but some of them were a little taken aback. They're like, "Oh my gosh, who am I talking to here? Did I call the right number? You know, is this so and so's?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, it is." And I mean, I can't blame them. You know, you call a pizza place and then you hear me. I mean, I did work for a phone sex line for a little while though, so I understand how I can sound at times. Though most of that is behind me. I don't really do that anymore. Or I haven't in a long time, I should say. I know I've kept a lot of the accents and the way of speaking and the mannerisms of someone who is a bit flirtatious. But I think I've always been a bit flirtatious on the microphone. On the internet in general, though, I guess it can't be helped. You know, sometimes flirting is just too much fun. But I always try to keep myself in check, because no one wants a creep. But when I was working in the kitchen for that short period of time, they have this thing called a make line, where it's just a group of people standing in line putting different ingredients on top of the pizza before it goes in the oven. The oven is on this assembly line sort of treadmill where it's being pushed through the oven, and it is the exact amount of time that it would require to make the pizza hot and ready. And it's a process, I'll say that much. It's a bit strange, but I mean, it works. They had it down. They figured it out. The secret was cracked. And, you know, I was into the whole pizza making process of watching it for the most part, but actually putting the pizza together, I was not very good at. And I'm pretty good at using my fingers in ways that are not making pizzas. And I like using my fingers. I like doing that, but not on food, I've found out. I don't like touching raw ingredients for the most part. And sure, I'll cook stuff that I feel like is good, and I make some pretty great salmon bacon, but oh man, pizza, just so much meat, so much cheese. Ugh. Not for me. If you want to learn how to stop liking pizza, you can definitely work at a pizza place and you'll figure out how. Prevalence. In my life, there have been many things that have been prevalent. There are through threads that I've found, you know, a love of adventure. There's this place near, make peanut butter and bacon pizza. Oh my gosh. Peanut butter and bacon pizza, wow. And, you know, Alpha, it is lovely when people find jobs that suit them perfectly. But if you love pizza, there is a huge chance that you will take a job at a pizza place and you will learn that pizza is just pizza. And I am glad that you did not have that experience, because that was my experience. You know, I was like, oh, I love pizza. This will be great. I'll eat pizza whenever I want to. Never stop loving it. I'm glad to hear that. And I was like, okay, I've had pizza every single day for 3 weeks in a row. I'm tired. I'm like, I've had enough. I can stop now. But then it was like, oh, you got to bring your own lunch, and there's pizza everywhere, and it's all free, and it's much easier. And I'm just like, oh, but I've had so much pizza. I mean, come on, you know, just take a day off. You know, give it a rest. But then, you know, everyone's like, hey, want me to make you a pizza? I'm like, no, please. Peanut butter and jelly pizza. Jeez. With bacon, mind you. Ugh. You know, people have argued about this from the dawn of time, but I will tell you what I think about pineapple on pizza. And it's not a hot take. I just don't taste the pizza. I just taste pineapple. Honestly, like it's not like a new combination of stuff. And I don't eat ham, so I mean, it's not like I can taste ham and pizza together. I just taste pineapple, and then it's like the chunkiness of pizza and the pineapple all just go together, and it's kind of strange. It's kind of wet and strange. But it's like a dessert pizza, yeah. That's a strange thing, dessert pizza. But, you know, I agree. Welcome back, Jenny. Glad to have you. You just... Did you get the pizza? Did you hear the tail end of our pizza discussion? It's pretty simple, you know. I'm glad you like it so much, though, Alpha. It's its own world, the world of pineapple on pizza. And some people get a lot out of it. I am not one of those people, though. At least not right now. But I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. But some of the things that have been reoccurring in my life are, you know, loving animals and loving kind people. It's really easy sometimes to forget the simplest things in life, or it's just good food, animals, and good friends. That's something that you can really have anywhere as long as you're able to work for it. And chocolate chip cookie pizza, my God. As long as you're willing to strive to have that environment exist around you, you can make it around you. I mean, barring being on a desert island, that is. Or just a big chocolate chip cookie. I would prefer that myself. Just share it with people. Share the cookie. I had a girlfriend named Cookie once. That was a weird thing to call someone, though, when you're trying to, like, recognize them as being in the area. She was nice, though. Improvement. It's really important to remember that everyone is a work in progress to some degree. You know, people all have their own issues to work out and to solve through their life. So it's really easy sometimes to see someone else who seems to be doing really well and who seems to have it all figured out. But it's important to remember that really nobody has it figured out. There's no one in the world who has an understanding of everything and knows exactly what they're doing. For the most part, people have an idea and know where they want to be, but the actual visualization of seeing it is tough. No, it was not her real name. That would be pretty messed up if you were named someone Cookie, right? I don't know, it seems like a messed up name to me. I guess it could be cute. I think naming a child after a food, like naming your child pasta or naming your child lasagna, like that seems pretty messed up to me. I guess it could work though. But yeah, you know, everyone's trying to work their way to their potential and their goals. And the best thing you can do is just not give up. Because there's plenty of people who have given up, and it's for them and for the people that still believe in you that you have to keep going. Because so many people don't get to ever realize their dreams. It's up to the people like us who have that chance, who can realize their dreams, to do it for them. Lima bean. Oh, man. Cookie is a cuter name than pasta. I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you. uh, I don't know. Some people come up with some crazy ideas. Name their kid after a food, you mean? Yeah. Like I said, it sounds kind of messed up to me, but hey, you know, if you love lasagna enough, then you know, Garfield names their child lasagna. I mean, it could happen. You know, it could happen. I certainly wouldn't do it myself, but I guess if you really liked it, then it's pretty messed up, though, if you ask me. All right, next thing. Tolerant. Through most of my life, people named Ginger. It's true. Ginger's like a... And Olive. Okay, you got me there. Those are much more classy names, though. Those are cool names, yeah, as Ginny has said. Oh, man. I mean, if you name your child after an ingredient, usually you can get a lot more mileage out of it. If you name your child like Ratatouille, which is like an actual dish, I feel like you're just setting them up for a very poor childhood, if nothing else. Though, of course, you could always just have a great childhood, and that doesn't matter because people just call you Ratatouille. But I feel like you're setting them up for failure. I would feel set up if my name was Ratatouille. Name your kid Chicken Alfredo, everyone will love them. Man. C-A. Chick Al. That's their nickname, is Chick Al. But yeah. This is a good night. We're doing good. And thank you all for joining me. You have an Aunt Cookie. Wow. That's her real name. Jeez. Well, I would never have guessed that someone could have that name. And like, you know, I mean, it makes sense. If someone likes cookies enough, then sure, name your child Cookie. I'm okay with that. It's not as messed up as lasagna, but it's still a little messed up. But cookies are pretty cute, so I can see it. You know, I've thought about what I would name my kids. I'm assuming I ever have any, which I might someday. I thought about Louise and Eloise. I thought about Marcia. No, Marcia. That's not going to be in. It's too close to marshland or marshes, which I hate those. I hate swamps. So, not for me. I thought about Heidi, too. Which, if Heidi is listening, then she'll appreciate that. I like that name, though. Maybe it's because it's grown on me. Something that I have found that I really enjoy is through these streams, through the... Luckily, no one is actually named Lasagna that I'm aware of. Well, it could happen. You know, it could happen. It could happen. Whoops. That I'm aware of, yes, that I'm aware of. That is the safe way of putting it. I don't know of anybody named Lasagna, but I could always be wrong. There we go. Well, thank you for showing up, Jenny. I'm glad that you can make it. You have a nice night, okay? And get to sleep. Get to sleep and sleep well. Let's get our next word. Velvet. Yeah, that's right. Something that I've really learned from... Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Jenny. Something that I've... Good night. I've really learned from having these streams just on their own already. I'm glad you like it, Ella. Being inside when the rain is going crazy like that, it's a nice thing. You know, it's been special. It's nice jazz too. Very nice, very low-key jazz. It's been special for me, you know, doing these streams. We've only done 4 of them, so we're not quite all the way through anything yet, but I've learned that I do enjoy speaking, and I enjoy having you folks here listening to me. Because I do get some lonesome feelings from time to time, and having you kind folks paying attention and just sticking around and giving me a little bit of your life so that we can hang out and have a nice time. I feel like that's something special, you know, and I'm glad we get to share it together. Make sure, though, that you've got some water, and we're going to take this moment to stand up and stretch a little bit. So I will do that. Now give me one moment. hope you all enjoyed that. Back to it. Yeah, we've been streaming for over an hour and a half now. And we're coming close to the 2-hour mark here in just a half hour. You know, I'm looking forward to the day when you guys get to see my new alerts. They're nothing too special, I'll say that, but I am looking forward to the subscriber alert whenever that goes off. Probably won't be for a little while, but I'm looking forward to when it does show up. What's our next word? Electron. So, I'm pretty particular about my interest in science. Most of my interest in science is it looks like it's like a rainbow GIF, and it has an amazing sound that shows up whenever it's played. It's very, very cool. I've been very focused on science for psychology reasons, and an interest in psychology is very healthy for somebody who is suffering from mental health problems. Though, of course, not to the point where you think you have this or that, or you try to self-diagnose too much, but just to the point where you actually have some interest in the things that are going on around you. Interest in yourself, and how to change. Interest in your friends and your family, and interest in yourself. This is a good time to talk about it, as good as any time really, but whoever's out there listening, whoever's enjoying themselves at this stream, just know that there's someone out there who cares about you, even if it might not seem like it all the time. Someone who you've bumped into, or spoken to, or thought about, or met in life thinks about you too. And if no one else is thinking about you, then I'm thinking about you. And I'm grateful that you've chosen this time to join me, but I'm even more grateful that you are safe and able to relax and take things easy. I hope that you know that you are worth being cared for, and that you are a prize to somebody. And it is a prize to me to know that you care enough to stay in my stream and enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much, Ella. And I'm grateful that you have chosen to spend your night with me. But that's our positivity for the night that we can point to. Yeah, there's been plenty of times in my life though where I've been curious about, you know, the care that has gone into being my family member. And I know it's really tough sometimes to live with somebody who has depression or other mental illness. Oh. Thank you so much. You're very kind, Ella. Thank you. And I have something to look forward to as well on Saturday nights. So it's there for both of us. It's there for both of us. And you know, I have felt shame at my difficulty of adjustment, my difficulty of being a brother and a son, because it can be very difficult sometimes to be those things when you feel almost unworthy of them. And I don't think there's anybody who's not worthy of being someone's son. Because that's a basic human right, is to be a son or a daughter, or anything in between, really. But I myself have felt some shame at my inability to do so, to be sonly, or whatever you would call that position. And there is a part of me that does feel like I have failed in that interest, you know. But I guess as long as you are not estranged to your family, as long as you are on speaking terms, and as long as you care about them, I guess you can't go too far wrong. Because if you're trying to make right by them, that's the good first step that you need. And if you can do that, then you can take it all the way. And actually have a relationship with them, actually find some kind of connection that maybe wasn't there before. And I suffer from a lack of similarity to my family. I'm kind of like my dad, but me and my brother are very dissimilar, and me and my sister are incredibly dissimilar. But, you know, the similarities don't always mean lack of interest, or lack of connection, or lack of compatibility. But it has meant that for me, for a lot of the things that I've done. And it's very common to feel this way when you're depressed, like that you don't feel compatible with your family. You know, because there's a lot that goes on whenever you're in that position. And many people find that they have to reconnect with their family after their depression is in remission, or taken control of, or taken care of, because they are so different afterwards. They're like, my life has changed, and now I can finally be a good brother or be a good son. And that's something that I kind of look forward to some degree, because I know that I'm not going to always feel the same way. And I look forward to when I'm further along. But, you know, people recover from depression every day. They feel better and they move on with their lives. And it doesn't always stay away forever, but it's long enough that you can live again. And anyone going through that, the important thing to remember is that it will go away. Eventually you will make it through it. Even if it doesn't always seem like it. Just take it one day at a time. This is actually our first 2-hour-long episode of Cast Talks, and I am already feeling the fatigue, but I'm going to push on through until 9:30. what is our next word? Pipe. So I actually went to I went to not a community college, a career college, and I learned how to become a welder. One of the goals I had was working on the Keystone Pipeline, but I'm very glad that I didn't do that, because that is a very labor-intensive, very dangerous, and very long working job. You have to be swole and swarthy. You have to be made of stern stuff and careful. I don't quite feel like I have many of those. I'm made of slightly stern stuff, but I'm not really careful enough, swarthy, or swole enough to really heave pipes around and weld things together in that sense. Plus, I was always good at something called TIG welding, which is very different from stick welding, but only someone who welds would really know the differences. But yeah, I thought about it for a while, being a welder. I mean, it's a fair trade, if you don't mind losing your vision and losing your lungs at an early point in your life. And that's worst case scenario, of course, but, I mean, a lot of people go through that. You know, welding blindness and welder's lung and all that. But the thing I was always afraid of was working on a skyscraper or a tall building, because I've got this horrific fear of heights. Ever since I was a child, I was always climbing on things, right? I was always climbing here and there, everywhere, trying to get up on things. And I remember the day I stopped climbing. It was the day I fell from one of the... I fell from a tube on a child's playground, one of the tube slides. I was climbing up and climbing up and climbing up, and I looked down and I was like, wow, I'm pretty high. You know, like, well, I'm gonna keep going. I mean, why should I stop now? And so I just kept climbing, and eventually I reached the summit of the tube. And when I was trying to look down to see how far I had gone, that was when I slipped. And I had my hands up, sort of like somebody who is going parachuting, and I just saw the ground coming at me. You know, it wasn't like I was falling. It was like the ground was moving to meet me. And I remember just having my head up off of the dirt, off of the gravel, and just crying my eyes out. You know, I was like, it didn't even hurt. I was just shocked that I fell. For the first time in my life, I understood gravity. I understood like pain of falling and the scare that you can get when you're falling from a distance. You know, I got it very, very viscerally. I understood just in a moment. And it was a lot. You know, it was a lot. But I stopped climbing things after that day. I remember very well when it happened. I bought way too much ice cream that day. I was just a little kid, but I was like, I'm gonna buy the whole gigantic scoop of ice, or of fudge brownie ice cream. And I was like, well, I'm gonna eat it all. But I literally got like 3 or 4 bites in, and I was like, ugh, I'm full. It's like, it's over. I've got so much ice cream left. What am I gonna do with it? Oh, well, I understand how that feels. It is scary. Parkour might have been something I would have done in a potential life. Standing on top of the monkey bars, yeah, that was too extreme for me, and I was considered extreme in my uh, among my friends, but that was too much for me. Ugh, gosh. Sounds like a awful accident waiting to happen, if you ask me, but I shouldn't be too negative. It's just I'm afraid of heights now, so I can't imagine that. Or enjoying that, excuse me. As long as you have your legs relaxed and you're ready to roll, you can survive. Jumping off the monkey bars, though. I mean, assuming they're not like super monkey bars where they're really, really high. I hated them. I hated the monkey bars. Like, ugh. I hated putting my hands on the metal like that. And everyone else had always been in the sand, and there was always sand on them. I was like, it's dirty. I've always been very disliking of sand and dirt on things, though. Just general filth on things that people touch. Ugh, I hate it. I don't like to be negative on this stream, but it's true. I do dislike filth and grime. Yeah, I wasn't either. I was an agile kid, not a strong one. I've always been agile instead of strong, though. It's a fair enough thing to be agile. Soul. Yeah. I think that humanity is our greatest treasure as a species. And I know that there are people that are not able to have as much humanity as others, and that's a very sad thing. But what we should remember is that for those of us who find humanity more easily than others, you can treat those people with respect. And you can honor their wishes, even if they can be hard to listen to. And the ones that we can actually help and we can make in a much better position than they were before. I think that humanity exists in everyone. It's just some people will never reach it, unfortunately. And that's pretty sad. But the people who are here, who are listening, you have to have humanity to relax, I think. Because I don't think otherwise you can really exist in this world without believing in yourself and those around you. And I don't know how you would relax if you don't have those feelings, but maybe I'm wrong. I was born with quite a bit of empathy, and I tried to lose that because the dark age I was in was sort of making it easy to stop thinking about others, because I was thinking about myself so much. And, I lost a lot of my empathy in those days. And I had to struggle really hard to get it back. I think I've gotten quite a bit of it back, though. I'm grateful for that. Excuse me. Yeah, something that I have fought with for a long time is accepting that I went through a rough patch. Though my rough patch was about 8 years, and it was a tough period to live through. I know it was tough for people to watch me go through as well. And I respect that the people that have been with me, my family, and others, they've probably seen me change quite a bit. And whenever you do change, especially for the better, people take notice, you know? And it's small stuff, like the way that you say yes to somebody, the way that you say hello to somebody, and the way that you even wave and look at somebody when they wave at you. That changes a lot, and that changes the whole persona that you have, good or bad. Oh, I'm almost out of tea. Luckily, we're almost out of time. So, that is perfect, and we are on track. Our next word is publicity. I think if I had my way, I would like to remain partially anonymous, giving good guidance and good help to people, and making people sleep better, relax more, and enjoy themselves more. I would like to do that for maybe the rest of my life. It's a noble goal, a noble cause, and it does make me feel better. It's good for me as well as people who listen to it. And it helps. I'd like to make whatever money I'm going to make to stay alive, and then some, to make a life for myself with this career. But I don't want to be famous, really. I don't want to have my name be a household name or a name spoken by everybody. I want the people that want to listen, and I want the people that want to support me. But only that much. I want the amount I need to have a comfortable life, but I don't want any more than that. I think that's something worth looking forward to. Here at episode 4. I'm feeling it though. I'm feeling the fatigue. The 1 hour and 53 minute into a stream fatigue. What's our final word for today? Bean. That's not going to be the final word. Contribution. There we go. So, each one of you that has been here with me for this evening has in some way or another contributed. That is either being here to watch, being here to comment, and to speak in the chat, or being here just to like Lima Bean. Yes, just like Lima Bean. You have been here to just see what's going on. And I'm grateful for that. Very grateful that however many people have showed up, have decided to show up. Because if it wasn't for you folks, then I don't know if there would be much reason for me to do this. You know, I would just keep these to myself, and I wouldn't worry about what I would say or what I would think or anything. I would just sort of keep it to myself and not really let anybody else in on it. I mean, you know. Oh, you're welcome. I wasn't sure if that was the right thing to do, because I didn't know if someone would see that and take offense to it, that I posted a link, but I hope that you enjoy it, honestly. And if any of you would like to take a look at the rest of my work, the rest of my library of work, at the end of the stream, there will be a link to my YouTube channel. And from there, you can look at the rest of the stuff that I've done and hopefully find something that you can enjoy. Assuming you're not already asleep at the end of the podcast. But here we are winding down episode 4. Yeah, we've come a long way. 2 more hours in the bag. Aw. It's okay, there will always be more hot cocoa. And hopefully there will be many, many more streams as well. That's what I look forward to. For now. And for anybody interested, I do have a Patreon, but I don't know if supporting it right now is a good idea, just because I don't think for the month of November there's going to be any more Patreon items that are being made. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I'm really glad that you're enjoying it, actually. Talk channels. I guess this is kind of a talk channel. Yeah, and it's not like a talk show or a podcast in a normal sense. I don't have any real objective here other than to make you folks have a nice time. And aw. Thank you, Alpha. I'm glad I'm giving you tingles. That's my goal, is to give tingles to everybody. This is a nice way to spend a Saturday night, though. I'm glad that it does that for you. I'm grateful. You know, one of these days, I'll probably have a guest on this show, this stream, but I don't know when that's gonna be. It'll be at some point, though. At some point, they're going to have to test. Going to have to pass one heck of a vibe check, though. And who knows when that'll happen, but we'll see. We will see. Alright, folks. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? We're down to the last 5 minutes. And I will tell you now that it has been a little bit of a difficult time for me to make it through all 2 hours of this. But I'm grateful that you've stuck around. Even though we've come to the end of this stream, we will be streaming again next Saturday, for sure. And maybe a little bit in between there, maybe something going on. I'm not sure, but maybe something. And you will be alerted when that happens, either through my Discord or through Twitch. Hopefully Twitch will be working and send you the thingy, the little notification thingy. But either way, I'm glad I got through it too. And this is a little bit of an experience for me because I do feel the tiredness, but we're closing down here, slowly, piece by piece. And if any of you would like to, make sure that you check out my other content. I even have some erotica audiobooks out, which are all very funny, very poor writing, most of them, but very funny. And if you'd like to learn more about me and what I do, my YouTube channel will be listed, and it will be showing at the end of this stream. And just search my name on Google, and you'll find something, because there's plenty of Cassius Mishima content out there. And you don't have to pay for most of them. Yeah, I know, it's crazy to think that I've gotten so much done over the years, but the fruits of a very strange labor, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, here we are at the end. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm really proud of myself for making it all the way through. And I want to tell you that I, made this a great night for me. And I'm glad that we got to spend it together. So no matter where you are or what you're doing or who you are, you've been here with us, and it's a great thing. I'm glad I could give you guys such a good night, and we're gonna call it there. Make sure that you say sure. Make sure that you say goodbye to everybody, and make sure that you have a nice rest of your night. And if you want to look at any more content, they'll be there at the end of the stream. Thank you guys so much, and have a lovely night. Bye-bye. And stay safe while you're at it.